Hello, everybody. I'm Eshan Pokhrel, and welcome back to the PB Political Podcast for episode number 21. Today, I'm going to go over some of the biggest stories from the last week, some of which include the tentative agreement to halt a potentially catastrophic railroad strike in the United States, how the bill to ban members of Congress from trading stocks and bonds is progressing through both houses and when the vote will come up, and a little bit about the renewed conflict in Eastern Europe between Armenia and Azerbaijan that is threatened to destabilize the whole region once again. So, thank you for listening. You know where to find us, PB Political AL on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and enjoy the show. So I want to start with the railroads. This is a really big piece of news over the last, it's been a couple months actually, but major news outlets really started to pick it up last week as railroad worker unions announced that they were moving towards a strike due to accusations of very poor working conditions and inadequate breaks and recovery periods against the rail companies. So a lot of these people have been working nonstop for many weeks. They don't get many paid breaks. They get like one day, a couple of hours. So a lot of very poor working conditions for sure. And this obviously a railway strike. Rail is very important to the American economy, not just to shipping, but also to transportation. And this would have very much hamstrung the economy. And also politically put the Democrats' prospects in the midterms, which are somewhat on the rise here. Not too much, obviously, but it does look better for Democrats. That would have put those prospects in jeopardy as well. And I don't think they would have been able to recover if the economy spiked or lagged down due to a big railway strike. So the Presidential Emergency Board stepped in. That body was created by President Biden back in July, specifically for the railroad shutdown, what was coming for the railroads, the conflict between them. So they stepped in, they agreed. The tentative agreement from the two sides is a 24% raise and a $5,000 bonus for all rail workers. In addition, railroads agreed to ease their attendance policies and address concerns about working conditions raised by the unions. So that would be the no paid time off, no paid leave, any of that stuff. So a lot of unions say it's not as far as they would like to go, but they do acknowledge the progress. Obviously, economically, this would have been horrible for everybody. Prices on everything would have went up once again. And they're already very high, would have been even higher when things can't be shipped. President Biden was said to already be preparing other modes of transportation, air support, waterways, anything like that, to help alleviate any potential damages that a strike would have caused. But thankfully, we did not get to that stage. And politically, like I said, Democrats have been looking on the up and up. A little bit of legislative victory. The student loans, obviously, very popular policy that President Biden was able to enact. And anything like this railroad strike that would have absolutely tanked the economy, would have, like Amtrak said, that they would be canceling long distance train rides, any passengers, like any transportation issues too. These would have all looked very bad for the president and for the party in power. So Biden could see this as a win. I think he will see this as a win, but I think everyone knows there's a long way to go for this. So right now, the railroad strike's been prevented, if only for a couple months, couple weeks. However, keep an eye out on this, and hopefully nothing too bad economically comes of this, and we'll be right back. All right, so next up, I want to talk about the stock trading ban that's been circulating around Congress for a while now. Really coming back to the front of the current conversation after COVID, the big crash in March 2020. A lot of senators, sitting congressmen, all of those guys and ladies, they all were caught selling off a lot of defense stocks, a lot of healthcare stocks, things like that, as the market tanked. So that really just pushed investigation wide open. And now we're here. Senator Jon Ossoff from Georgia, he pushed the original bill that would ban stock trading you'd either stop trading or you have to put all of your trades, your whole portfolio into a blind trust, and as would your family and any dependents. So that's where we started with this now. Recently, last week, Senate Democrats announced that they would not release a bill that would ban the stock trading bill. They would not release that until after the midterm elections, which caused a lot of controversy, especially because the day before that, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said that the House would move on the bill this month, so in September. So basically what happens is that since Pelosi knows that no passage of this bill will come until after the midterms, then she is okay with progressing this bill through the House. Because if you don't remember, Nancy Pelosi, a couple months ago now, it might have been earlier this year, she was asked by reporters about her own stock trades because her husband is a very big-time investor, billionaire investor, Paul Pelosi. And she said that members of Congress should be able to exercise the free market, I believe was her exact wording regarding the stock market. And she's had a lot of suspicious trades in recent history. Not one being the her husband selling off NVIDIA chairs the day after the CHIPS Act was passed, or the day right before the CHIPS Act was passed a couple weeks ago. So a lot of suspicion around Nancy Pelosi, as well as a lot of other members of Congress. Unusual Whales on Twitter has a great breakdown of who has most suspicious trades, who violates the Stock Act the most. That's the congressional requirement that you should report all buying and selling within a certain amount of days. I think it's 45 days. But anyways, so the bill is ready. It's been ready for a while. Senator Ossoff, who originally sponsored the first bill for this, said that he's been ready to vote on it. Most people are ready to vote on it. We should just vote on it. Most people being Senate Democrat, they're ready to vote on it. It should just be voted on. But now Chuck Schumer's, the Senate Majority Leader, is kind of holding it back. I'm not really sure for what. If I had to guess, it would be a political ploy. So maybe there's Democrats that aren't in favor of this ban and protecting them until the midterms. It gives them a chance to have another 6 years, or however long they'll be in office, of protection before they're up against the people again. It's very suspicious. A June poll from Business Insider said that 70% of voters support banning members of Congress from trading stocks, which is a very high number. It's one of the more popular positions in today's politics. Like I said, there's no vote post-election. It's just suspicious. No vote post-election. It just feels like a cover your ass type move for anybody in Congress, especially on the Democratic side, who is not willing to vote for this bill. And if you win re-election, you're protected for however long your term is. So voting after, you can vote no after. You can vote if the vote was before the election, you voted no. You actually have a repercussion that you can get voted out because a lot of people support this. However, if you wait and then you vote no, you have to wait 6 years for your district or your state, or your 2 years for your district to bring it back up and be like, hey, why'd you vote no for this? Something that we all support. So it's very interesting, a little political gaming there. It seems like President Biden's in favor of this. I believe he said he has been in favor, but let me make sure about that real quick. I know that President Biden has actually been very good about never trading stocks while in office. Ever since he's a senator, he's been very supportive of not mixing the two and profiting off your position, which is a credit to him. And yeah, President Biden does look to be for the stock trading ban. So a lot of games at play from the Senate Majority Leader and Speaker of the House as well. Shows a little bit of corruption from the inside, and hopefully this bill gets passed. I'm a big proponent of the bill. I think this will give a lot of people that want to get into public service, especially people with market connections, pause before getting into public service, because if you can't trade, if you can't profit off of it, then maybe we'll get people that actually want to serve the public instead of trying to enrich themselves. So it'll be an interesting dynamic coming out of the midterms for sure. Make sure we'll stay on top of that, and we'll be right back. And the last thing I want to talk about is a little bit of a world issue. Again, is Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe's been in the news a lot with Russia and Ukraine, obviously, a little bit with Serbia and Kosovo. But this is a little different. This is Armenia and Azerbaijan. So two Eastern European countries, former Soviet Union. They've been they've been recently had a war in 2020 over the Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, which is a disputed region in the area. This time, however, on September 15th, Azerbaijan said that 71 troops had been killed in border clashes with Armenia. And that's the worst fighting since the Nagorno-Karabakh war in 2020. Armenia said they had 105 soldiers killed in the same skirmishes, so border skirmishes are becoming a big deal there. This is a kind of a big deal globally because Azerbaijan allies with Turkey and by extension a little bit of like the Western world, while Armenia is allied with Russia. And Russia is actually the one that brokered the 2020 peace deal between the two countries after the Nagorno-Karabakh war. So there's a lot of geopolitical tension in a time where we don't need any more, with obviously Russia and Ukraine, China, and maybe Taiwan, Serbia, Kosovo. There's a lot of bated breath going around the world right now watching this region. Armenian officials announced on last Wednesday, so that would be I believe that's the 14th. They announced that they have a ceasefire, and that took effect on Wednesday. A little bit of history about the war, because I should have covered this just now, but Nagorno-Karabakh War, 6,500 troops were killed in just 6 weeks of fighting. And again, Russia facilitated the ceasefire in November of 2020, and they deployed like 2,000 peacekeepers into the region. And it's obviously a very contested area, but it hasn't been a war zone yet since then, so that's good. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said that the government will recognize Azerbaijan's territorial integrity to, I'm assuming, Nagorno-Karabakh and other areas that they've been disputing. I do not know too much about this region, for the record. However, this recognition will only be done if Armenia receives full controls of the areas they've seized during the Nagorno-Karabakh war. So this is in a future treaty. There's a lot of give and take, obviously. Will Azerbaijan accept this? Who knows? Won't they be satisfied? There's a lot of back and forth. I think the most interesting thing from an American point of view is that, again, Turkey allies with Azerbaijan. Turkey's in NATO, so by extension, we do have an ally in Azerbaijan, while Armenia is a Russian ally. And there's just a lot of tension, like I said. So like Eastern Europe is not exactly a very calm place right now. With Serbia and Kosovo look like they might be beefing again. We covered that a couple weeks ago, actually. And Russia and Ukraine are obviously fighting still. So there's a lot of intrigue there. Hopefully everything goes out well. I know there's the whole region's always in turmoil in some way or another, but hopefully it ends out in a peaceful way. We'll definitely update you on this story, especially if it starts breaking out into something worse. That's everything we have for today. Make sure you guys follow us at PB Political AL, PB Political Podcast on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that stuff. Check out pbpolitical.com. We have some good work out there from good artists, or from good writers. Sorry about that. Make sure you guys leave us 5-star reviews. Keep tuning in. Thank you. I'm Eshan Pokhrel, and goodbye.